I first started down the road of farming when I was probably 23 or 24. I realized that you could be a farmer. It took a long time to get to that point. I apprenticed on a few farms, and I learned the art of being a farmer, and they were CSA farms. So I found a model that I really admired in the Hudson Valley, Sisters Hill Farm, and I interned for a full season there. And they have 200-member CSA, and I thought what they were doing was really cool and sustainable, and I think, you know, it was a model that I wanted to copy. So when I moved back to Rochester, I hadn't lived here for like 10 years, so I was searching for land, of course, and searching for CSA members when I created the business, and I actually called up Liz Henderson, and she was like the only person I knew in Rochester, and I was like, Liz, I want to start a CSA, do you know where there's any land? And she said, oh yeah, there's this one guy, old man in Victor, he's right in the suburbs, you should call him up and see if he'll lease land to you, and he did.
NOFA New York started in the 80s. I was one of the people who started NOFA in Massachusetts. And when I was 40, whenever that was, I was the first president of NOFA in Massachusetts. And then in 1988, I moved back to New York State, where I had been born, and I joined the board of NOFA New York. At that time, there was some fraud in the marketplace, people who were selling as organic crops that hadn't been organically grown. So it seemed to us that organic certification might be a path to making it clear to consumers that they were getting food that was truly organically grown, and helping farmers improve the way they were doing their organic production. So we started a certification program, and we needed an organization to hang it on. And since we were already members of NOFA, it seemed like a good idea to start a NOFA chapter in Massachusetts and have the certification program be part of it.
The Farmers Pledge program is another option for farmers to say that to the public that they grow organically, they grow sustainably, without having the full organic label with the inspectors coming out. And because we sell directly to the public, we market, 95% through our CSA members. They're the inspectors themselves, and they get to come out to the farm and prove to themselves that we're actually farming sustainably, as much as we can. And so we chose to sign the NOFA New York Farmers Pledge as a way to just put that out to the public, that we really are committed to our sustainable values, even though we chose not to get organic certification this year.
One of the most economical ways to get organic food is through CSA. You really support the farmer at the beginning of the season by paying everything up front, and we have some ways through our food justice program that can stretch those payments out so it's more accessible for people who don't have a large sum of income at one time of the year. Farmers can then take the money up front but give consumers a larger quantity of organic food at a lower price throughout the whole season. And all those consumers are sharing in the risk of the farm, but also sharing the bounty. If you would purchase that same store at the grocery store or at a corner store, you're getting a much better value for through your CSA.
I think it's important for consumers these days to know where their food is coming from, and to know that their farmer is really following sustainable practices. Because a lot of people, at the market or so will claim to be no spray or low spray or, organic or what, and it's hard for the consumer to decide what's actually going on and how their food is grown. When I have to shop at the grocery store, that's all you can go by, because you can't see the farmer who grew it, and you can't see the field where it grew in. You're just like, oh, it's some broccoli. But if it says, it's certified organic, then you can trust that.
I feel, working in the city here, that access to healthy foods is the sine qua non, is without which people cannot get healthy. There is no access to healthy food in the city, and they won't really be able to get healthy unless they eat healthy. So for me as a family practitioner, medical doctor, it's kind of frustrating because even people that want to eat healthy, they're really unable to. It's more than just what pills you take. It's what's going on in your family, what's going on in what you're eating, what's going on in your emotional life, and what's going on in your community. NOFA is key for the diet part of it. And also, I think in some respects, it could also lead to community empowerment because our patients are in charge now of this healthy food cooperative. By having that will also help them feel more strong about getting healthier.
It's really important for us to be able to keep our products affordable and not to just be this gourmet niche. We want organic to be kind of the standard way that food is produced. Local and organic is a normal way and not some specialty. And we didn't want to call it, Rochester Organic Bakery because we didn't want it to seem like something special. We just thought it was the norm. It's always been our goal to balance fair pay for the farmers and fair pay for us and affordable food for our customers. And it's been a little bit tough to do that, and it usually ends up being fair pay for us. It's getting squeezed out of that, but we're okay with that. And I really like going out and visiting farms and working on farms. And it's really inspiring to go out to somebody else's farm and see how they do things. And it's little things that don't seem like they'd make that much of a difference, but when you add them all up and you learn all those little things, it can really make a big difference in your operation. So it's really exciting for me to go out to farms just to learn how other people are doing things.
The one really neat thing about the sustainable agriculture community and the organic farming community is this notion of farmers learning from other farmers. It's not a sort of one-way, expert-driven model of learning. Throughout the field day today, Fred was saying, well, give me your ideas. What are some other things that we should think about as ways to improve? And people came up with some great ideas. The next iteration will be better, and it'll have benefited through the input from the NOFA members that were here today.
Organic farming is complicated, and so the workshops that they hold offer really great discussion of, it's sort of a meeting of the minds of all sorts of organic farmers from the state or region, and specific examples about how they problem solve to overcome the challenges that organic farming poses, especially now with climate change and the complications that a constantly changing season, it just gets harder and harder. So I think it's more and more important that NOFA is around to support farmers because we face a lot of challenges.
When we started, there was no government support, and very few people at universities in the United States were interested in doing research on organic methods. And so it was farmers and gardeners learning by themselves or together and teaching one another freely what they learned. So that cooperation amongst people in the organic community has been very important to NOFA. Since '89, I have been doing policy work. For many years, I was the person for NOFA New York who participated in watchdogging the National Organic Program once it was implemented in 2002. I co-chaired the National Campaign for Sustainable Agriculture Organic Committee, and that got me to pay attention to the fact that it was just production standards, and the National Organic Program had left out the social relations that are so important in organic agriculture, of people dealing fairly with one another.
NOFA was really helpful in finding grain farmers in our area. they're not the kind of farmers that just come to the public market, to the farmer's market to sell their stuff like normal. We had to really look through their directory, and we just called everybody in there that grew wheat, and we went to conferences and field days and just networked and talked to everybody we could find and saw what they were growing. If they weren't growing exactly what we wanted, we tried out anyway, see if we could work with them, see if we could get them to grow what we wanted. It's always been kind of a community-based business where we know our customers and we know our suppliers, we know each other, and so it's kind of just an extension of that if I was getting my honey locally, you know, shouldn't I be getting my wheat locally as well?
It's great for us as an institution to also build relationships with these innovative farmers. NOFA helps us do that when we partner with them. It provides our students an opportunity to get connected with some of these producers, come up with ideas for student projects, internship opportunities, and so on. So.
The one thing that was kind of the most fun was our visiting the farm, because our patients really, some of them hadn't really been on a farm. We had an African woman that went to the farm, and she hadn't been on a farm for 20 or 30 years, but she was finding all sorts of plants that were growing at the farm that she remembered from her time in Africa. So she was very excited about that. And the connection we made there by visiting the farm, I think, was a strong one, and it was kind of unique. We spent a few hours there just going through the land and seeing how the crops were grown, and also the techniques that they use, which are very interesting as far as ways to grow food without using, you know, pesticides and heavy fertilizers.
Organic is not just a method of production, it's a very holistic philosophy where you pay attention to all the interconnectedness of everything with one another. Things occur in systems, and you move one little part and everything else changes too. So organic is a way of understanding that and approaching the world with respect, so that people aren't trying to dominate nature, but to work together with nature to understand better natural processes and to facilitate the best operation of them. I was looking for a way of life where the way I lived was in concert with the way I believed. And NOFA was where I found other people who were seeking the same kind of thing. So being friendly to nature, cooperating with other people, cooperating with natural forces, that's what I was looking for. And working for peace between human beings and between human beings and our surrounding environment.